pricing of cement, arguing that the trades minister is not fit to hold that position.
We don't have a control market. We are dealing with open markets, and everything is quoted in dollars. Because the sources of their importation, the clinker and the rest, are different, and everything is quoted in dollars.
Also ahead in the bulletin, Ghana Statistical Service pegs the country's current population at 33 million and projects it to reach 52.47 million by 2050.
On average, between 2021 and 2030, 711,706 additional people will be added to the number that we have between this period.
Also in the bulletin, Attorney General Godfrey Wadame expected to conclude prosecution's cross-examination of third accused person Richard Jakpa today in the ongoing ambulance case, and later on, shops in Accra remain closed during cleanup as the Greater Accra Regional Traditional Council demands efforts from stakeholders in making Accra the cleanest city. Details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Stay tuned in. Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takoradi, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Rage and Might FM in Tamale, Sonali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Star 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Star 103.5 FM. You're welcome once again to the Starr Midday News on Star 103.5 FM. Once again, sincere apologies for the late start. It's due to technical challenges beyond our control. Now, the minority in Parliament has asked government to work towards addressing the depreciation of the cedi instead of seeking to control the prices of cement. Minister for Trade and Industry, Alhaji Katie Hammond, has presented a legislative instrument to Parliament seeking to deal with the ever-rising prices of cement. Players in the sector have, however, rejected the move, pitching them against the minister. A meeting called at the instance of Katie Hammond was boycotted by the manufacturers, some of whom are in Parliament to lobby for the rejection of the LI, expected to be late today. Now, speaking to Starr News, Deputy Ranking Member for the Finance Committee, Richard Champong, questioned the fitness of Katie Hammond to keep his position. The Bia East MP argued price control is confined to military regimes and should not be entertained.
Actually, I have not cited any manufacturer in Parliament, but lobbying is part of politics. It's part of our democracy. In America, they have a special office for lobbyists. So it's in Ghana that when you hear lobbying or lobbyists, people conclude that it's corruption and all that. So if you want to legislate against my business, and I think what we are doing is going to affect my production, my profitability, I have the right to also lobby other stakeholders to kick against it. So you ask yourself, a whole minister called for a meeting and the industry players rejected to attend the meeting. It speaks volume, meaning there's no acceptability from the industry players for this man to be the minister. So the president must sit back and take a second look at it, that this man doesn't fit in this office. So what is at stake? The level at which price of cement keeps going up. So engage the people, talk to them. You can even have like official meeting with the Parliamentary Select Committee.
You heard there the Deputy Ranking Member for the Finance Committee of Parliament, Richard Champong there. Let's go over the telephone line and speak to our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Ibrahim Alassan, for more on this one. So, Ibrahim, has that LI been laid, first of all?
Not yet, because obviously today is Thursday, today is Tuesday, and then if you look at what happens in Parliament in recent times on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Toforsen, will have a date in court, sitting has been scheduled to take place around 3 p.m. Today is a special day because there's another activity that's taking place here that required the presence of the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Toforsen, and that is the sitting of the Appointments Committee, which he actually sits on as well, to vet Honorable Kofi Mafo as a Deputy Trade and Industry Minister. That vetting is ongoing as we speak, chaired by, obviously, the first Deputy Speaker, Mr. Fosewusu, that's Kofi Ahemkra Mafo, who is being vetted. Again, as you are aware, the minority has issued a statement that in line with his decision to not take part in any proceedings until its leader returns from court, this particular activity has equally been boycotted. Of course, he added that aside the fact that Kesela Toforsen is in court, they will also not be party to any process that will swell up the numbers of President Akufo-Addo's appointees. And so, back to the allies, yes, I'm aware that the cement manufacturers are here, not to engage in any formal meeting, but from what I understand, they are here to lobby anybody who can be lobbied, as far as members of parliament are concerned, to vote against or reject the ally. As has been indicated by the Sector Minister, Al-Hadi Akiti Hammond, the ally is expected to be late today. And Naa Dedei, by way of education, when we talk about allies, even from a bill. And so a bill can be rejected one way or the other, without necessarily having to marshal the numbers to get as much as to get majority. But when an ally is late, all it has to take is 21 15 days of parliament, and that ally becomes a law once it's gazetted. And that is if the opposition isn't able to marshal to get majority to defeat the ally. That's how come their engagement before the ally is late. Given the position of the sector minister and the position of the minority, which is that it cannot support this ally. If the ally is late and it has the support of the majority, this ally will mature and will be effective after its maturity, regardless of the opposition. And that's how come the manufacturers are here to lobby, probably, especially the majority MP, to at least delay the laying of the ally. We'll find out whether this lobby has been successful when session begins later this afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Al-Hassan. He is a parliamentary affairs correspondent, bringing us up to date with what is happening on the floor of the House. This is still the Starr Midday News on Star 103.5 FM. Let's switch our attention to issues relating to population. And there are some updated figures when it comes to our population. We'll be speaking to Edem Kujo, who is monitoring that press briefing for us. Now, Ghana's population has hit the 33 million mark and is expected to reach 52,470,000 by 2050. Now, this is according to the latest projections by the Ghana Statistical Service. Now, Ghana's population at the end of 2021, the 2021 population and housing census was pegged at 30.8 million. Now, but the Statistical Service says between 2021 and 2030, 711,706 persons will be added to the population each year. And let's speak to Edem Kujo, who is monitoring that for us. Edem has joined us over the telephone line. So, Edem, first of all, beyond the Ghana Statistical Service pegging the current population at 33 million and then projecting it to hit 52.47 million by 2050, what more has the service been saying?
Okay, so Naa Dedei, first of all, if we recall, in 2021, there was a population and health and housing census where we were told our population had hit some 30,832,019 people. Well, the new figures the Statistical Service is giving us, based on their projections from now up until 2050, as you rightly say, is that as we speak today, that's the 2nd of July, 2024, the population of the country is around that figure of 33 million. Now, what the Statistical Service is saying is that in the last 3 years, or from 2021 up until 2030, what we are going to see is that there's going to be an increase in the population of the country each year by some 711,000 people. So this means that by 2030, the population will be 37.24%. Remember that there's a population and housing census every 10 years. So although there's a projection up to 2050, the figure they are looking at is the 2030 figure, which is when they will conduct an actual survey, and then they'll juxtapose as to whether their projections and the way they expect the country to grow is following. So the number we should look out for is 2030, 37.24 million Ghanaians.
Does it in any way talk about the implications for the country's rural, urban dynamics and demographic makeup?
Yes, it certainly does. So what basically the Statistical Service is telling us is that the urban population of the country is expected to continue its growth, and it will move from 56.7% in 2021. Currently, according to them, our urban population is now 58.2%. And then it says that by 2030, 60.7% of the country would be urbanized. Although this may sound as some good news, the Statistical Service is saying that 9 out of the 16 regions had more than half of their population living in rural areas. And it's projected that of the 9, 7 regions will remain with majority of their people in the rural areas, even by 2030. So although generally as a country, we will see improvements in our urbanization, 7 regions, that is the Volta region, Oti region, Western North, Northeast, Upper West, Savannah, and Upper East, will continue to remain rural even by 2030, Naa Dedei.
My final question to you has to do with what the Ghana Statistical Service, or how does the service envisages data will help policy making?
Okay, so beyond these headline figures, there's been a lot of figures having to do with district projections, having to do with regional projections, and one other point having to do with the age bracket. So the Statistical Service is saying that as when we're in 2021, the population of the country above 60 years was 6.5%. Now, it is projected that in the coming years, that population will rise to as high as 11% of the country, which means that the youth population of the country would be reducing greatly, and the population will now be more elderly. The question then that comes up, and the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobene, did speak about it, is that do we now have a general conversation on possibly shifting upwards the retirement age to say 64, 65? Because clearly the projections, life expectancy of the country is going up. And this is clearly showing in the projections that they are getting that in the future, the youth population will reduce, and then we'll have a lot more people being in the upper age bracket and even more over 60 years living amongst us.
All right. Thank you very much, Edem Kojo, bringing us the details in relation to the latest population figures as given out by the Ghana Statistical Service. This is the Starr Midday News on Star 103.5 FM, and today, because of the late start, we'll extend the bulletin to 12:40. Let's move on and bring you some other stories. This one in relation to the Bank of Ghana and its recapitalization. Well, the technical advisor to the Minister of Finance, Dr. Abdul Ganiu, says the recapitalization of the central bank is essential to the gradual recovery of the economy. Now, in 2020, when the country's economy became fragile at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the central bank stepped in to cushion the government. Dr. Abdul Ganiu hence believes the recapitalization move is paramount at this moment. He spoke on GH1 TV's State of Affairs last night.
Bank of Ghana has been in some difficulty, largely on the back of the domestic, if you want, financial sector cleaning up.
That's a same program?
It had to, no, not the exchange program, but basically banks that were supposed to be collapsing that required the Bank of Ghana to make some monetary interventions. It was around 60.9 billion if you put all of that together. So that was such a significant amount of money. So the idea is to sign an MOU with the Ministry of Finance. The MOU should be able to look at how much money, for example, is required for the recapitalization. We should also be looking at the timelines, for example, so as far as the whole process is concerned and where this money is going to come from, the sources of funding. The MOU is not in place yet.
Yes.
So once we are able to come up with the MOU, these details are going to be contained. And I'm sure we could have discussions later on that. The target is that by 2028, we should achieve a debt sustainability of 55%.
Yes.
Is that okay? Which is debt to GDP ratio.
Yes.
So that tells you that once the economy continues to improve, obviously you're going to find the money to do a lot of important things.
Okay.
And that would include recapitalizing your central bank, because that is extremely important. When we're caught in a difficult situation in dire straits, the Bank of Ghana did come to the rescue of this country. So now that things are beginning to look better, obviously we have to be able to find the money to recapitalize the Bank of Ghana, whichever way it is.
No problem.
However, economist Dr. Richmond Tettey is pushing for strengthening of government structures to safeguard the economy and prevent mismanagement.
The biggest question and the biggest problem is what he's saying. Apportion blames to who did it. Is that it is neither here nor there. I will believe that. Let us not go back too much. Let us be more proactive. Proactive is that the laws must be rigidly followed, strictly followed and complied with. Other than that, you're going to have this. You're going to have this all over and over again. If the law was 10%, then we change it to 5%. Now somebody has gone far more above that limit. Why? I know the agency is there. The agency for the COVID was there. But the question is that if you do that, you are putting your monetary policy in jeopardy, because there is a say by the vice president.
All right.
If I wouldn't mind, I would have quoted his book, which I have. His book says that anytime you use monetary policy to finance physical policies, you have a serious deficiency in your monetary policy.
You have the banking consultant, Dr. Richmond Tettey. Let's now go to the courts, where the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah is expected to conclude the prosecution's cross-examination of the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, today in the ongoing ambulance case. Richard Jakpa, a businessman, is standing trial together with the minority leader, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen, for what prosecution alleges to be willfully causing financial loss to the Republic to the tune of 2.37 million euros following purchase of some ambulances. Now let's go by the telephone line and speak to Mutala Inusa for more on this. Mutala, do we know, has the cross-examination started?
Well, Naa Dedei, what I can tell you now is that the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah has begun what is expected to be the very last cross-examination of Mr. Richard Jakpa before Justice Ifeanyi Saribuki. As I come out to talk to you right now, the AG is asking his second question, and then, in effect, the court, the Attorney General has been asking the Attorney General, Mr. Richard Jakpa, beg your pardon, the principal sum that he received in relation to this whole matter. But Naa Dedei, what I can also confirm to you is that the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, has directed for a virtual link to be created to, as it were, ensure that anybody anywhere in the country can watch live proceedings of what is happening here currently in court. So once the link is ready, we will share for our viewers or our listeners to also have access to that. But what is clear is that the Attorney General's cross-examination is underway, but the Chief Justice has also made the direction that the directive for a virtual link to be created for everybody anywhere to follow proceedings in court. And Justice Ifeanyi Saribuki, upon hearing that, has said anybody in the courtroom who is uncomfortable can leave and go home and watch via the video link. So that is what is happening here in relation to this very matter. The proceedings is on, and the Attorney General himself is on feet, scrutinizing Mr. Jakpa to cross-examination.
All right, let's let you go so that you don't miss anything out of it, even though you missed a few minutes. Thank you very much. Mutala Inusa is our legal affairs correspondent. And we are all waiting patiently for that link to be created. Once it is shared, definitely, well, viewers and listeners will also have a hold of it and watch what is happening in the courts. Two issues relating to Clean Ghana or Clean Accra. Well, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Daniel Naa Dedei Tettey Glover, is demanding a concerted effort in making Accra the cleanest city. Now, addressing participants at the first day of the Homework Cleanup exercise led by the Gamanche. Kintaki Tettey II, Tettey Glover details the deployment of an approximately 1,500 member task force to enforce and uphold the standard cleanliness themed Unite to Clean, the Homework Cleanup exercise led by His Royal Majesty King Takitaria Tettey is to help in addressing environmental degradation and also help Accra be tidy. Let's have a listen to the Greater Accra Regional Minister.
Going to clean the region. We have divided the region into 6 zones. 6 zones. But this morning and tomorrow, the focus is on AMA operational area. i.e., Bese, Sempe, Ngleshi, Akamagbe, Akamajen, Amadou, Bukom, Kolewako, and the other environs. Then tomorrow, we'll clean the beaches and few other places. Let us all put our shoulder on the wheel and make Accra the cleanest city once again. Our Safachema are here to support us. So please, as you watch me and as you listen to me, it is our duty to make sure Accra is clean once again. So this morning, we are ready to roll out. I want everybody to come on board and support us. And I believe that at the end of the day, we'll be able to sustain this. This is not going to be a 9-day wonder. This is different from what has been done before. And we'll make sure anybody that leads us around will sanction those people.
You had the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Tettey Glover, there. You're still listening to the Starr Midday News on Star 103.5 FM. Let's move on and bring you some other stories. Now, the Africa Center for Digital Transformation, ACDT, has warned of potential cyber threats that may impact the integrity and security of the 2024 elections, with digital transformation increasingly influencing electoral processes. The risk of cyber attacks has become a critical concern that demands urgent attention and comprehensive strategies. Now, in 2016, Ghana faced cyber attacks on the Electoral Commission's website during the elections. Now, that's in 2016, leading to temporary shutdowns. Similarly, during the 2020 elections, Ghana experienced a significant number of cyber threats targeting the electoral process. Now, these included attempts to hack the EC system and other government websites. It is for this reason the Africa Center for Digital Transformation is calling for a concerted effort from all stakeholders to enhance cyber defense mechanisms and ensure the protection of the electoral process this year. Let's go over the telephone line and speak to the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Digital Transformation, Kwesi Echiahene. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the Starr Midday News. So your statement references cyber attacks in 2016. I do recall that the Electoral Commission never admitted openly that this was what happened in 2016. How do you come by that?
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Echiahene. Did you hear my question?
Can you ask the question again? The line isn't so clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I'm asking that in your statement, you make reference to 2016 cyber attacks that the Electoral Commission faced. And I'm saying that to start off with, the Commission never admitted that they had some form of attack. And so how do you come by this conclusion?
Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity. There are several publications on the BBC, on Ghana Web Nigeria Online, that the commission at the time, which was led by Mrs. Charlotte Osei at the time, acknowledged that there was a cyber attack on their website. However, they also acknowledged that the attack on their website did not affect the integrity of the election. Fast forward in 2020, there were also some sort of attack on the Electoral Commission electoral processes. What we seek to put out as a center is to create the awareness and to get the Electoral Commission to prepare towards the upcoming election. Because this is not just the case in Ghana. It's happened in Sierra Leone, it's happened in Liberia, it's happened in Senegal. Just recently, it happened in Nigeria. It is very popular that when you are preparing for an election in a digital transformation space, you put in necessary structures to ensure that you are equally preparing for the cyber threat that comes with it. Since the Electoral Commission will use internet, the Electoral Commission has electronic gadgets you are using, you need to start training your officers as to which links they click.
Is it your inkling? Is it your inkling that is not being done already?
So, as a center, we did some observation during the limited voter registration across the country. One of the things we identified is that the Electoral Commission employs a lot of volunteers and trains them. But the time frame for training, oftentimes we would want to project it's not enough. So even through the data collection process, some officers made some mistakes that the persons who were involved have to come back and correct. Typical example happened at Ayawaso West Wagon, a center that was located at the University of Ghana, Legon Hall. What the picture that we are trying to paint is that it's important that the Electoral Commission makes it a top priority to train officers, especially that are handling the electoral data with data protection knowledge, ensure that you are preparing the entire structure ahead of the election, because we have two presidents where there have been some attacks. Number one in 2016, number one in 2020. So it's important that we are preparing against the precedent that has happened.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for speaking to us. We're grateful for your time.
Thank you. We're grateful for having us.
You had me engage the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Digital Transformation, Kwesi Etuahene. Let's now bring you the very latest in the world of sports, and Jones Aji is here with the very latest. Good afternoon to you, Jones. What's in sports?
Good afternoon. So, head coach of Accra Hearts of Oak, Dango Ouattara, has been speaking, and of course, recently, Asante Kotoko, they asked about 17 to almost 20 players from the team. So head coach of Accra Hearts of Oak, Dango Ouattara, has responded to rumors of a possible clear-out of players at the club, saying that his policies are different to that of Asante Kotoko, and rebuilding is not just about releasing players. So get that sound for us.
We'll do that in our subsequent bulletins.
So General Manager of Inter Allies, Mr. Patrick Mateboy, has confirmed that the club would play their Division 1 football in the Volta region and will not be moving to Accra. And also the Euros, the final set of matches in the Euros will be played this evening when Romania meets the Netherlands at 4 p.m. while Austria will take on Turkey at 7 p.m. So there's more on the game at 1 p.m. on Starr FM and GH1 TV. That's all for sports. My name is Jones Aji.
We can hear from
the coach. Okay. So let's get to hear from General Manager of Inter Allies, Patrick Mateboy, who confirmed that the club would not be coming to Accra but would stay in the Volta region.
Okay, thank you. Let me make this clear that Inter Allies will be playing in the Volta region. Preparation is already certain. We are looking to prepare a pack that will meet the club licensing requirement within the Volta region so that we can have our matches there. So we are not moving to Accra as people are worried that once we qualified, we would move to Accra. No, we haven't.
All right, so that was General Manager of Inter Allies, Mr. Patrick Mateboy. And that'll be all for sports. My name is Jones Aji.
Thank you very much, Jones, for the very latest in the world of sports. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Starr Midday News on Star 103.5 FM. For more news, do log on to starfm.com.gh. My name is Naa Dedei Tettey. Have a good afternoon.